All right, it's February 19th. It's time to demonstrate the mission editor, uh, where I improved the guns and rockets training for the A10C2. All right, let's get into the mission editor and open the file. Let's make sure we're in the right place. Eagle Dynamics, DCS World, Mods, Aircraft, A10C2 Missions Training. And here it is here. Guns and rockets. A couple of years ago when I loaded it. Alright, here we are. So I'm going to be going over some basic fundamentals of the mission editor. Anyone who's already knows all of this stuff can just fast forward. But for those of you who don't know anything, let's just take a quick look here. First, hopefully you've watched the training video that I made on this mission. Anyway, to zoom in, and you can see that the airbase we're concerned with is Batumi. And when I zoom in, you can see right here, this aircraft is on the runway. If I click on it, you can see that it says A10C2, and the skill level is player. Any other objects or aircraft or vehicles that are not being controlled by a player, and we're in single player mode, by the way. Any other vehicles that have artificial intelligence will have a skill level other than player, so you can actually have skill levels that you can determine when you're building mission levels. You can be rookie, you can have a vehicle be rookie, trained, veteran, ace, or random. Client is for multiplayer, so we'll leave that alone. And then if I zoom out with the mouse wheel, we'll discuss the waypoints later. And if I right click, I can recenter something else. You can see this big, huge zone. It's called a trigger zone. Is a zone called range, and we'll discuss that later. I'm going to actually use that. But if I zoom in all the way, what we're going to see is the two runways that we fly over to target vehicles on the runways and to target our mobile trucks. Our two mobile trucks are right here. I'll just click on the main truck. He's you can see he's unit 1 of 2, so he's a lead truck. You can see that the name is Moving Targets, and it's actually, he's part of a group of 2. Here's the second one. So they're a group, so anything we do with truck number 1 will just automatically also happen with truck number 2 for the most part. And you can see, since these trucks are moving, they do have artificial intelligence. And you can see the truck number 1, his unit name is Moving Target 01. His skill level is average. Okay. And here's truck number 2. His skill level is also average. You can see some other important parameters you can adjust down here. But for the moment, I just wanted to demonstrate something, that when these trucks become active, and by the way, here's one of the problems I had with the original mission, is you can see that they start at 9 a.m. And if we come over here, we'll just automatically look at some of these menus. If we look at date, time, and weather, you can see that our mission starts at 9 a.m. So what that means is these trucks are going to start moving as soon as you start the training, which is crazy because what they're going to do is they're going to travel on this road, then they're going to go off road, and these are all waypoints that you can create for any vehicle, and you can see they go around and around. There's waypoint 4, it comes all the way up to 5, 6, 7, 8. They go all the it goes all the way around to 12, and that's where it stops essentially. So here's a listing of all the waypoints for these moving trucks. And if I start scrolling through them, I wanted to show you one thing that's really cool about the artificial intelligence in the mission editor. You can see it's on road. So when we tell it to go to waypoint 1, which is right here, they're going to stay on the road. So that's pretty cool. You can see when they go to waypoint 2, that's down here, all of a sudden the type is off-road. So when you tell them to go off-road, they go through the grass, and believe it or not, the artificial intelligence will have them go around trees and objects so that they safely get to the next waypoint. And around they go until they get to the last waypoint. So let's look at that, because I wanted to show you something important here. I don't know where, here's DP. So actually after waypoint 12, they come over here and their very last stop is at DP, and they will stay parked here when they're done. They only do these waypoints once around. And you can see right here that it actually knows the timing with their speed at 16 knots, and based on the amount of travel miles, it's going to take them just about 25 minutes. So if we haven't done all of the training up to the point where we're flying over to actually target the moving targets, if it's after 25 minutes, they're not moving anymore, they're parked here. So that's one of the things I also want to take care of beside the payload racks being wrong. And so I just wanted to kind of show you that. And let's scroll back out here to show you some other meaningful things. And to close this particular vehicle group menu, we can come up here and close that. Or if you select something else, it'll go away. So what we're going to do is come from the bottom up, because I want to show you. We can view the unit list, and down here is a list of every vehicle. And you can see all these are static vehicles. There are some cars, believe it or not, at the Batumi Air Force Base that do move. Unit 1 and 2. They have average skill levels, and a Batumi car, average skill level, and they move wherever the mission editor tells them to move. I'm not concerned about that. And these are all static vehicles. And here's a soldier, average skill level of a soldier. And I'm not sure, these are ground objects, I guess. Yeah, here's choppers. And here's us. Here's our A-10-2. skill level player is us controlling the plane, and we have a unit name of Hog 11. Just wanted to show you that. So we're called Hog 11, and here's the two moving targets. They have unit names of moving targets 01 and 02. There's two different kind of trucks, a refueler and whatever this type of truck is. They are the enemy. They're from Russia with average skill levels. And here's other targets that we're going to shoot at with guns and rockets that are parked. And it doesn't say they're static, but they are active. They just don't move. So in other words, we can blow them up and everything and damage them, etc., etc. So that's all about the menu item for unit list. Another important feature are trigger zones, and we are going to take advantage of that in a couple different ways. So a great example of that is our A10. When we take off, we have our own, by the way, we have our own waypoints, 0 through 6. 0 is where we're sitting here. If we increment this once, waypoint 1 is on the runway, designating where we can take off. And then if we advance this, waypoint 2, you can see if we select waypoint 2 in our heads-up display, we'll be flying towards this waypoint. Why is there a zone here? This is you can create trigger zones that are usually circular. And the reason you're creating those is those can detect when something enters or leaves a particular area. So the trainer, the training mission, we'll call him the trainer for now, he can use this zone to know when we've reached waypoint 2, and that's when he's going to tell us when we get into the zone, and if he's done teaching some stuff, he'll know we're in this area, and that's when he'll tell us to head for waypoint 3. So that's how he's going to know that we've reached waypoint 2. You can see there's no zone created for waypoint 3. He just knows when he's done talking and we're getting near to this point. At waypoint 3, he's going to tell us, all right, let's head towards waypoint 4 and head to the range. So here is waypoint 4 for us. So when we're flying towards waypoint 4 that we've designated on the heads-up display, this is where we'll be flying towards. But this huge area, let's go ahead and click this X. I guess we didn't quite get it. Yeah, here's the range. This huge area in yellow is the range. He made it huge, and we're going to take advantage of that when we're editing this mission. I'll explain all that later. Basically, this is the only other zone, but if we get up close, there are some zones here, and I don't know if he uses them, but you can see there's 4 other zones. We looked at this one, we looked at range. And by the way, I wanted to show you, see this radius is in meters? You can see that this radius of this range is 18,000 meters. Pretty big. And up here it's actually in feet. So It would probably make more sense if we were using metric up here and then circular zone type. You can actually have square ones, I don't know why. Anyway, does the trainer use that range during his training to detect when we're in the range? Probably, but we're going to use that for our own purpose in a bit. And then let's just take a look at these. Wherever I'm using the wheel to scroll, that's kind of where it tries to center it. Anyway, let's take a look. So there is a waypoint here at this group. There's a small waypoint here at this group, so these are only 10 meters. A waypoint at this group, and a waypoint right here at this road. Does he use these in the training mission? I don't know, and I'm not going to try to figure it out. That's not why I'm here. So, that's something important we'll be looking at or using. We'll be using the range. Now we come to some really important where you don't need to look at any of these. We can create our own mission with our own objects by adding these things in: ground units, ship groups, helicopter, planes. And we're going to look at this in a second. I'm going to show you that while you're in the mission editor, you can actually test it by flying. And right now, if we hit fly mission, it's going to start at the runway because it's starting, that's where our mission starts. And it's not very practical if I'm going to be making changes here at the range to fly every mission from the runway. So that's why I created that demo video, if you watched it, where I'm actually have a shortened mission to be able to test everything. And we'll do that. And then we don't need to look at any of these other things. But here's the most important thing in the whole mission editor: set the rules for the trigger. And here you have it. When you start this mission, the trainer is going through each of these trigger rules one at a time until we get to the end of the mission. And yeah, it'd be nice to have them in order, and yeah, they're named so that you can kind of see what you're trying to accomplish with each of these. And so when you create a trigger, for instance, we'll look at welcome. And this is a pretty simple one. A trigger has a condition. Usually you want a condition, and you can see this condition, we can guess what this is. Once you've started the mission, when you're more than 2 seconds into the mission, and I think that's seconds. Seconds, yes. When you're at 2 seconds into the mission, he's going to do these actions. He's going to send a message to everyone, including us. So here's the message that you see on the upper right hand corner. And clear view means it'll erase any other messages that might be interfering with it. And you can see there's no delay. And you can see, because it's a long message, it wants the message to be displayed for 100 seconds. You can see here a special command, and he's going to be checking because as part of this welcome message, we have to set the IFFCC toggle to test. And how does he know that we did that? Well, anytime you see this X cockpit element, he's checking inside the cockpit to make sure we did what he wanted us to do. And if he did it, here's a very important thing here. Flags. You can create as many flags as you want. You can create a flag with any number you want, as large as you want, into the hundreds even. And think of a flag as a variable if you know anything about programming. When you said create a flag on, and the flag should be number 1, the reason he did that is so that later on he knows that we accomplished this particular command. So he set this flag to on, and it will stay on unless you want it to be off. And by the way, flag on also includes the expression flag number 1 is true. So 0, flag off would be flag number 1 is 0 or flag number 1 is off. Or flag number 1 is false. Flag number 1 is false. If you switch this to off, flag number 1 would also mean false. And then lastly, you can have a bunch of sound files. And the sound file, I'm not going to play it, it's too long. Anyway, DCS whoever created this mission created sound files for each one of these messages that plays as well. And you can see there's no delay. You can test your sound file right here to make sure it's playing what you think it's supposed to play. And you can see the sound files are .ogg file types. And it's sound to all, so everybody's going to hear it, including our plane. So these are all the triggers. And we're not too concerned with all of them. Right here is where he goes in and has us look at the payload, and we are concerned with the payload being wrong on the wrong racks in the original mission. So we're concerned with that. And then as we're scrolling through, they are in order. We want to get to where we're approaching waypoint 3. That is when we're going to be right up here. When we're approaching 3 is where we turn off our autopilot, and he has us turn towards waypoint 4, and then we're really getting into the serious targeting, etc. And so that takes place right here. If we play this if we look at this message, autopilot is off, you have control. And so he verifies, he's verifying something here. Not sure what, doesn't matter. And he's also speaking. So the very next thing is where he's telling us about the range. And waypoint 4 is set up over the target range. And you can see the targets will be marked with smoke markers for each pass. So he's talking about initially all the vehicles that are parked on the runways, and then after we're done with the rocket fires, the smoke will be for trucks that are parked here where we do the set up the guns to fire to target the trucks that are parked on this runway. And then after that is when we do the trucks that are moving. So right here is that information, and you can see here that when he's discussing all of this as we're approaching range 4 from here, so he's discussing this range message, and he's turning on flag number 31. He's turning on. Why would he do that? Well, you can see here he's not going to have his next talk about DSMS and until time since flag 31 has been 9 seconds. So he's waiting 9 seconds from when he turned this flag on here before he reads the next message. So you can see these conditions have to be met. These are all have to be met. Their AND functions means time since last flag has to be more than 9 seconds. And here's where he's checking, are we in the range zone? So we have to be within this range. And here he says, let's make flag number 32 false. This is actually the first time he's used this flag, and he's creating a false flag. And the reason he does that is he is once all these conditions is met, he will read the message, check to see something in the cockpit, and then he turns flag 32 on. And you can see it was false, so he turns flag 32 on. It means that he has accomplished these two things in his training. And he does speak after this. That particular one is only 5 seconds long. It's a pretty short message. He just has us click on the DSMS button. So he turns flag 32 on to get ready for the next condition. Now it's flag 32 when it's been on for more than 7 seconds. Then he's going to be checking to see if we've clicked on that DMS button, and we're setting flag 33 to be false. And that's because he's not going to turn flag 33 on until he's done this training. And here you can see where he sets up a smoke marker for the first trucks that are parked on the runway that we're going to target with the rockets. They get turned on right here. So we go on and on and on with the rest of his mission training. So what are we trying to accomplish here? Well, we're going to be setting up our own conditions and triggers here in a second. So let's continue with the rest of this. I don't think there's anything else we're going to do up here. This is it for all the menus.